So this is the chat about everything. This is three guys, one nihilistic, one religious, one spiritual, talking about anything and everything. No meaning intended, only entertainment and informational purposes only. And today we're talking about what is morality and where does it come from. And I think this subject was yours, wasn't it, Henry? Um, why are you bringing this one to the table?
Well, the reason being is I think that morals are pretty hard to justify if you don't believe in God. And the reason being is without God, it always just comes down to preferences and the things that people would prefer. Like this is why you get people arguing all over the world, about abortion, about literally any topic. There's no need to go through them. We're constantly arguing about what's right, what's wrong. We really have no idea. And we're constantly changing, if you not so long ago, if you were gay, you were put in prison. Now if you say something against a gay person, you could be put in prison. So it's for me, I can look at the Bible, I can say, okay, well, this is what God says about this. For example, if you don't believe in God, you've got no real foundation. You're just everything's all over the place. So yeah, that's why I wanted to bring it up, really.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying, wait a minute, that if you don't believe in God, you can't justify morality.
Well, can you? Like, you don't believe in God, and how? Like, what's your take on that?
Well,
Like, can you justify the things that you believe are right or wrong?
yeah, of course, yeah. I think well, I think certainly in the West, we're brought up on a Jew-Christian backbone. So a lot of the values that and the moralities that are instilled in us by our parents and the institutions are Christian, the Jewish Christian, whether you believe in them or not. Certainly the Western um, values and morals. But if you go to China, they don't believe in Jesus Christ as a savior. But are you trying to say that because they don't believe in Jesus Christ, that they haven't got any morals and they can't justify their set of morals?
Well, I wouldn't say they don't have morals, but I would say they're based on preferences. And this is sort of the point. Like it's ever changing. Like it's morality isn't something that's set in stone. It's just it could be decided upon at any moment. And if I
But
um, you
that's
know,
what you said, did you? You say if you don't believe in God, you can't justify it.
yeah, well, yeah, you can't because it's just preferences. Like where does it end? It's like
Well, isn't
if you live if
isn't believing in God a preference?
is believing in God a preference. Yeah, I suppose it is, but
So that's
why is that relevant?
pardon?
Why is that relevant?
Because you by saying you can't justify it because it's a preference. You can't other people that don't believe in God, you can't justify it because it's preference. But you've got a preference of believing in God. It contradicts itself, doesn't it?
This is
I don't
interesting.
I
So
don't
I,
actually understand why that.
Well, my issue is that um, there's no justification for your morals unless you believe in God. And I think that's why I push back on that. Unless and when I question you about it, it's your justification of that statement was because the others are a preference, but then you've also admitted that believing in God is a preference. So that's puts a bit of a carbosh on your just on.
I don't see why it does. Like we have free will, right? Like of course it's a preference to believe in God. Like God's there for us whether we accept him or whether we don't. I don't see why that disproves what I said.
no,
I'm
it
saying
doesn't.
it doesn't. And I mean, you're entitled to your opinion, but to put a for everybody else, not to, if you don't believe in God, your God, then there's no justification. I think that's a bit harsh.
I'm I'm
Well,
just
I would
sitting.
ask what the justification is then, John, because like the reason I say it is like as a Christian you can refer to the Bible, but that and it's not saying that these people are doing anything wrong. I'm just saying that it's always based in preferences. Like if there's something that I want to do,
Mhm.
like say there's a young woman that I want to put my knob inside,
Mm.
I can look into the Bible and I can say, well, even though my desires, my heart, whatever, if I want to do drugs, whatever it might be, I might have this feeling inside that is like pulling me to do something. But I can say, well, God is telling me that this is wrong. This is not what's right for me, right? If you don't have that foundation in your life, you end up just leaning on your own
Yeah.
thoughts, right? And this is sort of how the world is run. Like we're constantly arguing with each other about what is right, what is wrong. Morality feels so thin and changeable. It feels thin because it's changeable, right? There's nothing set in stone. And like if I were to say to you, why is it wrong to kill someone? I'm not sure you could have like an answer that, and I'm obviously going to give you the chance to answer that. But for me, like we have value because we're made in the image of God, and we're told not to kill people because God loves us and he hates when we harm each other.
That's not.
So
But that doesn't. No, no. If you in the Old Testament, it says if you find somebody that doesn't believe in God, you have the right to kill them.
does it say that? I've never read that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It does. Yeah.
Now I'm sat here
I'm
patiently, guys, with my popcorn, just watching it back and forward here from a nihilistic
Well,
to a religious point of view. But I've got to bring up a little bit of balance in so that we can expand. Because the purpose of these discussions is for people to expand their viewpoints, right? And Henry's laid out the fact that you can't have morality without religion, but we're also kind of starting to lean into why that might not be actually true. But let me help people shift their positions a little bit in that, because there's a lot going on. There's Henry was talking about the stuff that comes up and questions that happen within you, where you question whether that's right or wrong, and sometimes without the framework of religion or God or written scriptures that you're discussing, right or wrong, um, as guidance. But it's not just from a religious point of view that we get morality. So there's our biology, there's culture, which John alluded to, because how can Japan have some of the best morals, in my opinion, actually, on planet Earth without having too much of religion going on? And there's our experience that goes on as well. And for me, from a spiritual point of view, something happens in us through our experience from within that questions whether it's right or wrong. And so that's where our morality comes from. So it's given to us through culture and religion and doctrines, but it's also from being social creatures. Like humans are social creatures. So we look around going, what's the right thing to do here? I need help with my baby or to get food or drink. Therefore I learned that to help other people out. So through experience and social context, a lot of it comes from as well, because we're wired for survival. That's where the biology comes in.
So,
So that's
it,
my point of view, to expand it a bit.
well, okay. So your view is that it's a cultural and it's passed via religion.
Four aspects. Biology, we're wired for survival. Culture, it's
Wait a
how
minute.
we learn to live with each other.
Let me take
Religion
you
and
back.
philosophy. Hang on, let me give you them. Religion and philosophy, and our own experience and learning. So four different aspects.
Religion and philosophy varies from around the world. So biology, okay, I think that's something that we've all got in common. So how does morality fit in with biology?
Well, biology differs all the way around the world as well.
No, no, we all bleed red.
Well, that may be the case, but we've all got different DNA and different aspects to our
We're all
biology.
Y and Y chromosomes. I mean, from that perspective, we are a species.
Okay, all
That
right, I'll give you
doesn't,
that.
it
Yeah,
might have different coloured skin, but from a biological point of view, we're all the same.
okay, I'll give you that. We're the same species in different variants. What
Yeah.
was your question?
Well, how does morality fit in with biology?
Because we're wired for survival, for the survival of our species, whether we belong to this tribe or that tribe, we get on with other people for that survival, collectively and individually. So therefore, we learn through culture and what we're told.
I'm talking about biology. How
Yeah,
does
so am I. There's a crossover. You can't. The trouble with the what our discussion here is, you're saying X, Y, and Z, but you can't actually define it down to X, Y, and Z because the logic and principles
Well, you
that
can't.
you're trying to apply, yeah, I know, only for discussion purposes, but actually you can't do it like that, can you? Because our logic and principles are a result of our culture, religion, biology.
Me, for example, I don't share that view that it's a biological phenomenon.
Okay, cool.
No, I don't either. And
Wow. Okay.
yeah,
I
and the
think
reason being like that seems very like things that are built in our instincts. Like you, if there's a massive contradiction there for me. You're saying it's cultural and we're taught, but then if it's biological, then it should be instinctual, right?
yeah.
Like because of our body, not because of our spirit, anything like that. And I think there is a spiritual element to it. And you did touch on this, Tim. Like I do believe we're guided, and there's something in us when we get that thought to steal something from the shop or to harm someone or anything, we get that thing that tells us don't do that. That's not right, you know? And I think that maybe you could say that is God to a degree, Let your
But isn't that they're the values that have been given to us by our cultures, our societies. It's not. I mean, okay. Let's take away. Are you? Are other species? Do they have a? Are they morale? Do they follow the same philosophy? Or is it just humans that have morality?
Are other species moral?
I don't care about them to be honest. I don't know. Fuck knows.
Yeah, who knows?
Um,
How could we? We can't even decide whether what we are, let alone something else.
And what you guys are saying is sort of proving my point in my mind that it's all just preferences in the world we live in,
Yeah,
right? Because you're saying, oh, it's taught by our parents, it's culture, it's this. Like that's just all preferences. Because if my parents teach me something to different to your parents,
yeah,
then my morals are going to be different to yours. And
yeah.
this is my exact issue with the way that morality is in the world today. It's ever changing, and there's nothing strong to stand on. And like in a really complicated world, there's so many issues you could come across where you're like, well, is this right? Is this wrong? And you get situations like Charlie Kirk happening where people are getting shot in the neck in public because they're trying to share their views and someone else despises them so much because their idea of morality is different to theirs. And it's sad, man. Yeah, but everything that you said sort of aligns for me that it just proves its preferences, right?
Okay.
Yeah, true. But I have trouble, Henry, with the fact that you're kind of saying, well, moral rules are seen as revealed by God from within, kind of thing, and not invented, because quite a lot of morals are invented. So but I suppose that's what you're saying as well, that it's kind of like that means preferences then, doesn't it? Because
Mm.
who gives the preferences? Well, our leaders, the heads of the tribes, the politicians, the teachers, the parents. So it is a cultural instilled thing. It is a preference, if you like. But
Well,
I still think you can have morals without that system for sure, because you have instincts that come from yourself, whether that comes from God or somewhere else, I don't know, but that tell you what's right or wrong, and otherwise you wouldn't feel sense of shame or guilt when
that's
you
an
do bad
emotion.
things.
Mm.
Yeah, I think we can all. That's that's a biological response, and it's an emotion. And I don't think it's got anything.
Thank you. So it could be biological.
Nothing to do with morality, is it, really? When you kill something to eat it, then you're surviving. And I think that, the duck or the cow or the pig or whatever it is, you've taken their life in order for you to survive, morally justified for our species. No problem. When you cut a plant down or a tree down, you need it to build a boat. And, it's not nice to see it done because destruction is inherently it's not a nice thing to see So, but that's not a morality. Moralities change as well. You know, they change. They all around the world. They've got the different different cultures have got different morals, and even in the West, it was seen as well. Take 100 years ago to have a divorce was really, you know, you were a pest, seen as a pest in society. You were blacklisted, or I mean, take for example, if you grew up in Ireland. If you were divorced or you had a child out of wedlock, then you were taken to the workhouses and you were locked away. And that was the that was the Catholic religion. The nuns did that, and they locked away children from as early as like well, all the children were. If all the pregnant kids were either sold off or put into the workhouses. Some children at the very early ages, 9, 10, or 11, used to go pick, if they were to pick an apple from a tree that it didn't belong to them, they were taken and put in the workhouses. I mean, the Catholic religion, Christian, you know, well, I mean, what sort of morale is that? Morality is that? It's absolutely
So, so what you're displaying is that over time these ideas change, and the idea of morality in the world
yeah.
it can evolve, right? So that leaves the question in me: is there such thing as morality? Is there something that is hard and fast, and like this is right, this is wrong, or is that just not a real thing?
No, I don't think it is. I think, I mean, what's right and wrong, it comes down to living a virtuous life, and living a virtuous life is it's I, th-
No.
it, you don't think so?
Well, yes, I do. It does, but I'm just stuck on the Irish example a little bit. I mean, you gave us a lot to think about there, John, but my head went to the Irish example because what you're describing is the result of people being put into workhouses and, penalized because of religious doctrine
Yeah.
and religious order. But
Chris-
if you rewind a few hundred years or hundreds of years before that,
Hmm.
you get to the proper Celts of like Druid, pagan, non-religious kind of like ideas, which were living in nature and in alignment with nature, which is part of biology. This is why my biology argument stands, because we are part of nature. We're not separate from nature. And those ancient people knew that. And so they were guided by principles of, is it fair? Is this harmful or helpful? And what do I owe to other people? And what kind of person should I be? And how am I collectively contributing? Sorry, contributing collectively as an individual. So they had a morality that was aligned perfectly with nature. That yes, they would kill things and cut things down, but they would probably be thankful and more respectful of it than we are perhaps in modern day. But what I'm pointing to here is that actually organized religion started to kind of bring some of the problems that I see rather than ancient orders who were living more in alignment with nature. And part of that was a natural morality and understanding of each other and their environment. So it is biological.
Well, yeah, so I don't know. I think I hear where you're coming from, and I think if anybody's more, I don't know about the Druids so much, but I know that Buddhists, for example, they're very moral people. You know, they won't even step on an ant. You know, they take everything really seriously. Anything from the leaf of a tree to um, their surroundings. You know, everything. You know, the air, ev- creatures from all sorts. And I think that from that perspective, I think that they're quite virtuous people. And their morals probably I align more with those. Uh, that said, though, I mean, some of the Buddhists do some terrible things. If you don't, um, fit in with their way of life, then
Why is it terrible?
well, if you don't fit in with their morals, then there are some people feel the need to go and persecute others that have
What's
decided.
wrong with that?
Well, I mean, have we got a right to live how we want? I think
I don't know. Well, if my preference is tomorrow, if I decide that killing people's fine, since it's all preferences, then why is that wrong?
well, you may find it. I think if that's the way you feel about it, fine. But
Is
by
it fine?
well, you can feel like that, but it's when you actually make that step and take somebody else's freedom. I think that what gives you the right to do that?
What makes it wrong though?
Well, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I said what gives you the right.
Well,
What gives you the right to
you're
do anything?
literally using, sorry, Henry, you're
Go on.
literally using the words, what gives you the right. So therefore, you're sort of saying it is wrong. So, like, what Henry's
No,
challenging you
I'm
on
not
here
saying
is
that.
where does
I'm not
that
saying it's
morality come from?
wrong. I mean, he has every reason to feel like that. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but what justification have you got to take somebody else's freedom?
Well, I don't have any, right? But I would say that you don't have any justification for any of the things you're saying as well. And when I'm asking these questions, I'm not claiming to have the answers at all, right? But
No.
there's a huge problem for me with what's going on, right? Because we've established that it's all preferences. You're giving these different examples of these different groups of people that believe different things, and you just said, "Oh, I align with this." So your preferences align with their preferences, right? Cool. But if I wake up tomorrow, or whoever, someone in power, they wake up and they say, "Do you know what? We think it's actually, there's nothing that bad about killing people. Killing people's fine now." Like, what what could we go to and say, well, actually, no, that's not right, mate. Like, how do we justify any of these things?
You
Like,
know,
if it's ever changing and it's all preferences, then how do we justify anything at all? It's
let me,
just what
let
like
me
the most agreed upon idea is at this point, you
yeah,
know?
it's interesting because I was thinking about, why, as a species, why we're so destructive. Okay. And for the last 100 years, we've been relatively peaceful after the first two world wars. And that's come about because we had nuclear weapons. And that my view, I mean, I had a long conversation with ChatGPT about this, but my view is that if everybody had a nuclear weapon, I think we'd all live in harmony, wouldn't we? You wouldn't take the risk. There's no harm in having that threat there. It's actually doing it is the that's the whether you could that's the big question, isn't it? Really. But
Sorry, I feel like you started a whole new conversation there. Do
well,
you want to
no,
go?
it goes back to you saying if I wake up and I feel like I want to kill, it's like yeah, that's fine. You want to go wake up and feel like you want to kill, that's fine. It's like if you want to wake up and you feel like a paedophile. Well,
But
who's to
I
say?
don't think that is fine, though. This is exactly the point I'm getting to, right? I don't think it is fine to kill people, right? And the point I'm trying to make when asking these questions is if we live in a world where everything is preferences, then how do we justify that being wrong? I 100% believe that killing people is wrong, right? I don't think we should do that.
No,
But
as the
then
Bible
you've
says.
got to.
And and it was the irony is that the Jews killed Jesus Christ as well, which is I find that having the feeling to wanting to do something is one thing, but actually doing it is another. And what's to say that killing a serial murderer in America is right, and but yet going to war and killing other soldiers, is also. I mean, but if you were to you take a knife and go down the street and see somebody doing something wrong and you kill them, I mean, where does it contradicts itself everywhere, doesn't it? You know,
Well,
I'm not.
it does. It does in the worldview that it's all preferences. Yeah, this is sort of my opening statement. Like the world we live in, everything is just fucked and confusing because we haven't agreed upon something, right? And it's not even about agreeing because we technically have agreed. We've got laws, we've got things in place.
Mm.
But that's my exact problem. Like, it's just the most agreed upon thing in any given moment, right?
Mm.
I don't know if I'm making sense, but
Yes, yes, you are. I'm deeply uncomfortable with this whole conversation. I think I'll make a kind of like a plea for us to not talk over each other because it's kind of like it's such a passionate kind of topic as well, and we believe what we believe. I'm uncomfortable with the fact, John, that you say, like, if you wake up tomorrow morning and you want to kill people, that's fine. If you want to be a paedophile tomorrow morning, then that's fine, because it deeply is not. And obviously, we're living in times where we're looking at stuff like that being revealed in mainstream media and across the planet, kind of. And I think actually we may agree when things unravel about that situation, what is right and wrong in those sort of situations, and we need to talk about them. And I do think that they're preferences because they're agreed upon. But the trouble is, because we're living in such separate little communities, cultures, there is no wider kind of like agreement that is like universal, except one of the ones that I see, regardless of religion, regardless of culture, regardless of anything, is that you try to be as good a person as you can and not do harm to other people, and let other people be. Doesn't include letting people do whatever they like, I don't think.
Well,
Like,
just a minute. Let me. You've got a problem with me saying if you wake up and you want to kill, you've got a problem with that. I don't think there's a problem with that. The problem is when you act on on those feelings.
yeah,
no, but
okay,
your
I'd say that.
thoughts, your words, your actions, they're all like they all bleed into each other, don't they? Like it says in the Bible that your actions come from your heart or something like that. It's like it's if you're thinking things like that, eventually it's going to come out in action, right? Like
I
the
don't.
things I think about genuinely come too. Like it's I'm not saying you don't have intrusive thoughts. Like sometimes on the road at night, I think, what if I just drove off that cliff? I'm not talking about random fleeting thoughts, but if you think about something often, like generally, it's gonna manifest into the real world, right? I don't mean in that like the hippie sense. I mean like literally.
I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of people that say, that looking at porn all the time is, is destructive, and it escalates to a point of battery. Well, I don't believe that's true. I think that some people might have a propensity for it. Um, but if they were to sit there and think about it, is that morally? I don't think there's a problem there. It's when you actually act out those fantasies, it becomes a problem because you're in free. What you're doing then is that um, your actions you're imposing your thoughts and feelings on other people, and I think that's where the problem is. But
Yeah,
actually having the thoughts in itself. I mean, I might sit and watch a movie and you think, God, why don't you just kill him? Or it's terrible. That's really awful. What would you do in such a situation? And it's like, and some of our morals, if you take what 1,000 years ago, so the age of consent was considerably less than it is where we are now. And who's to say that they're right and we're wrong? We've uh, we've yeah. I mean, Elvis Presley, for example, he groomed his wife when she was 13. And when I realized that, suddenly I was my number one hero, music hero. I just thought it was terrible that in fact that that was his hebephilia.
Why do you think that's wrong?
Well, I just think it just goes against my personal
Preferences.
yeah
so
uh,
the question then, John, is where does that come from? Where does your personal morality of seeing that as being wrong, where does that come from?
Well, like I say, I think that you've got you're indoctrinated by the culture you're growing up in, invariably. But I think that there is going back to where I think that going back to your one of your aspects, your with biology. I don't know. It's that's a tricky one, that one, because there are some things you do, you know it's not right to do. You know, to cut down a tree that's doing wrong. You know, you feel it's awful, really. It's awful.
Can I go back to what you were saying a minute ago, about the thought and then doing something, right? And
Yeah.
it tells us in the Bible that if you look lustfully at a woman, then you've committed adultery, right? And what that says to me is that we live in a spiritual world, and your response to me, it sounded like very worldly, right? And I don't mean disrespectful when I say that, but like obviously you're a nihilist, you don't necessarily believe we have spirit, things like this. So the world is just the world. But for me, the world is spiritual, and when I hear that, if you commit adultery in your mind, then you've done it literally. Like that tells me that there's a spiritual aspect to life as well, and it's not just the things physical that are happening, right? So yeah, man, I don't think it is just about the action. Like I said, your thoughts bleed into your words bleed into your actions. So I do think it is all aligned for sure. I don't think you can just say, oh well, until I've done it. Like if I think about bumming little boys every day, is that not wrong? Like I don't know. It's
Yeah, I agree, Henry, because our thoughts do become actions, which becomes behaviors, which becomes habits, which become cultures, and that's why it's not wrong to have a thought, but it's wrong to allow every thought and be okay with any thought, because
yeah.
then that kind of creates the world that we live in. In fact, we should take responsibility for our thoughts. We should be much more mindful about our thoughts because that's who we become collectively, and we're bigger than that.
Oh,
We're
just hold on. You're saying because I've got a bad thought that I'm morally corrupt,
all
and
right. Yes. Okay. Let me just use one example of what you were talking about. Pornography. It is it stands to reason that, so I'm not just saying it's biological, because I mean obviously the need or the wish to look at another woman or pornography might be biological, because there's urges, there's sexual urges, stuff like that behind it. But it's also cultural in that we see pop videos, Pornhub, all porn everywhere on the internet, accessible to minors, and young people learn to kind of like strangle their partners whilst having sex and stuff like that. There's the experience of that if it becomes frequent thought, it becomes frequent action, which becomes frequent in our culture and in our all of our experiences. And then suddenly it's all acceptable because it's a preference that is most people have, that is, in my view, morally out of control and prevalent. It's a prevalent preference. And
I,
then that is
don't-
dangerous.
I don't see a correlation between thoughts and actions. I really don't. I think that there is most definitely, some unhinged people will take that route, but 9 times out of 10. If you sit and watch a horror movie, you're not going to go out and stab somebody. If you sit and watch a porno, you're not going to go out and rape somebody. If you sit down and it's I just I don't think there's a correlation there.
I, mm,
I
I,
don't really don't. I don't, and I think it's too much is pushed on that. I really do, I honestly think if you've got a propensity to do it, you're going to do it regardless.
Okay, that might be true, but I don't personally, I don't think there's enough put on that, because actually what is our morality is shaped from within, as far as I can see. So there is a thought that becomes an action. There is nothing else you do. everything you do in life is shaped by thought within you. So therefore, thought is probably the most poignant, prevalent, and priority for us to put our mindfulness and awareness on.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, like I believe we are consciousness to some degree, right? So I agree with that completely. And like you're making thoughts sound like a loaded gun there, John. It's like if you watch a film or you have one thought, like you're gonna do these horrible things. It's not like that. It's more about like sustained thought, I would say. Like it's not you have one intrusive thought and now you're a murderer or something. I just
well,
do you not think everything you do come like starts in your mind?
I
Don't
say
you think everything you've ever done began in here?
that's what the implication is that, if you have these thoughts, that's what you're going to do. It's like, I don't believe that.
I don't think that's the implication, though. I think it's like I said, it's not a loaded gun. It's not one thought and your life's derailed. It's about intentional thought as well. Like your mind, you can take over your mind, and it's like a light. You can shine it wherever you want, right? If I say, okay, let's think about football, you're able to do that. But if you just sit here, your mind, things will just pop up, right? So there's like an involuntary like aspect to your mind almost.
Yeah.
So would it be right that you have like an involuntary thought and that, oh, now I'm immoral? I don't believe in that. But if I sit here and I'm plotting how to murder someone, that's you're being intentional. You're directing your light to something bad, right?
I think, yeah, and I think that there's, we're not perfect. Humans are not perfect, and some of us have got a propensity to be more violent than others, and they enjoy watching the violence. Not to say that um, they're going to be violent, and it, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, it comes down to sort of. I mean, how do we manage this then? I mean,
Well,
I've considered it, okay? I've considered it, and I think that perhaps there is a gene in the body um, that would indicate whether you've got a propensity for homosexual or violence or yeah, all sorts of things. Yeah. And before the child is actually born, we can go in there and change it so that this person is no longer like that. Or they can be labeled as um, not to be put in a position of authority. If they've got paedophilia tendencies, then they shouldn't be a teacher. They shouldn't be anywhere near children. And if a person's got the propensity to break the law, they shouldn't be a copper either, you know. Now, I'm thinking that would be in an ideal world. What we're doing then is that we're developing, we're changing the DNA of a human to sort of represent our morals. And sort of, we've done it with other things. We've done it with animals. We've done it with plants, where you've got a plant, where you've got a big, strong animal. You'll breed it with another big, strong animal. If you've got a bit of a runt of a litter, then you let it die. And you have it with plants as well. You've got a big, strong, healthy plant that produces lots of fruit. Then you breed it with another one. And we've done it with other species. I don't see why we can't do it to the human. I think that what we'll end up with is a more harmonious human being with less propensity to violence and all the amoral things that we can globally agree with. I think that we're fair and we've got no propensity to violence and we want to share and love. Then why don't we create a human that's more in line with that, but rather than the failed attempt by God? I mean,
Oh my God.
I think
This
that's
brings up a massive
yeah.
this brings up a massive thing, doesn't it? Of like, is it moral to play God? I mean, I'll set aside the fact that you've gone down the biological route of trying to engineer morality within human beings for the future of our species, and I'll set that aside because that is the biological argument. But
It's mostly
don't talk
ethics.
over me.
It's
Um,
exciting. That's the best bit.
right, okay. Well, oh my God. So is it moral to play God in that way? Is there something wrong with what we are right now? The perfect imperfection that is the current human being that has got to this point after millennia, probably longer, of evolution, you see there's something morally wrong with us. In fact, you're arguing for Henry's point that perhaps our preferences have got to a morally corrupt place. You're arguing that my point of biology, and just for clarity, it's not just biology, it's culture, it's experience, it's religion, it's everything that shapes morality. But you're questioning playing God. And personally, I don't think that is moral because then we start engineering somebody at the top who I don't trust because they are dark forces playing horrible games in the background to control us all anyway, is going to make the decision to lobotomize you so that you are a nice, easy worker bee for the rest of them.
Yeah, and do you know what? If this conversation has proved anything, it's that we haven't got a fucking clue what is good or right for us. So to play God is a fucking horrible idea.
Oh God,
Straight up.
God's, I mean, in the Bible, God realized that he'd made a complete failure of Adam and Eve, and that's why Noah's Ark tried to kill us all because he knew he failed.
Well, I don't know. I'll be honest, John. Everything you've said about the Bible, I'm not totally sure on. I'm not sure that's why he did that. Um, I've actually been reading Noah's Ark recently, but I don't think that's why. I don't think it says anywhere that God felt he'd made a horrible mistake and he tried to kill us all because of his it definitely doesn't say that.
Please set that aside for one moment because I think we've got another podcast in us about all of this. Because personally, my perspective for the purposes of the argument around morality is that that Bible is constructed to create a lot of preferences for morality and control.
Well,
Um,
they're better than any other ones we've come up with so far.
that might be so, Henry.
I mean, Henry, would you be inclined to have a DNA adjusted human in line with the Christian Bible?
No, absolutely not.
Why not?
Well, it's blasphemy. It's assuming that we know better, and we just don't.
I mean, no, we just follow the Ten Commandments. We did start there. Why not? Why not just start there and just have a human that is biologically DNA adjusted to follow the Ten Commandments? What's wrong with that?
The Ten Commandments are a set of rules set in stone, which actually gave rise to a lot of preferences to culturally kind of create how we should live anyway. So
Well,
that's my problem with that.
as a Christian, wouldn't that be in Nirvana?
I'll let
I
Henry.
don't think so. I think humans are inherently sinful, and putting us in control of someone like that just wouldn't work. I think when you when you get anything, like it comes with a set of instructions, right? It comes with like someone bigger than it, something outside of it has created it. Like for us to be the creator of ourselves, it just I don't know, it makes my skin crawl, to be
Well,
honest. It
Henry,
seems
let me
like
question this. I mean, for thousands of years, the religious orders have been
yeah.
whipping people into to following the ways of their religion. I mean, that if that's not, and all the children that grow up, if you don't do that, oh, it's blasphemy. You'll go to hell. So that's
Mm.
psychological as well. I mean, they're doing it. They do. But the thing is that they're trying to adjust to humans and psychologically and physically, you know. And well, I'm saying, well, why do you don't need to do that? You don't need to be. You could just just fucking clear the slate, put the Ten Commandments in there. Then you've got a human that you don't need. There
So
would be
what, you're like taking away their free will at this point?
no.
Like
You instill those 10 morals into that human, so they won't ever cross that step where they've been where there
so you
needs to be a nun or a priest to say you can't do this or you can't do that. It will be instinctive.
That's not even life at that point. You just you haven't got free will. You're like coded almost. So like
But
what is a human being at that point? You're just like a
that's what the
robot or
religious
something.
that's what they're doing. The religion's been doing that to all their followers anyway. Psychologically, they've been saying if you don't do as the Bible says, you will go to hell. So I mean,
Well, I don't believe in that personally. Like I don't think that's right either. But
well, they still do it, and they do it, and that's why
sure.
the morals, the Christian morals they've been people have been subjugated to them for hundreds and hundreds of years. And I don't really see why on one hand you've got a religious order that will physically beat these another human in so that they can follow the way of the religious order, and then they psychologically indoctrinate them as well. And for me, that's really that's atrocious. But I'm thinking, well, why don't you do it just a nice, peaceful way? Yeah, where you don't have to beat them or go through the psychological approach and just give them a DNA format, and they're going to have it anyway. Isn't that much? If you had a dog that was good from day one and you didn't have to train it, wouldn't that be good?
Look,
Sometimes,
look, you're talking about playing God. Like it's we're sinful at our nature, and to like think that we can intervene and make things perfect, I just think like it's just a completely flawed idea in every way. And like
Religious people do it all the time. They're saying you can't do that. It's against our Christian values. And you put them in jail for it. Blasphemy. To do it in the blasphemy in Muslims. And again, don't take the Lord's name in vain. Who's to say if you had it already printed into that human, they would never take the Lord's name in vain. So isn't that a good thing?
no, taking away our free will, you're not even living life anymore. I don't know. It's just
You're just
like
perfecting God's creation, or in your. I think for me, I think that we've had thousands and thousands of years of humans being destructive, and I really don't see how that's going to change unless we change the human being and bring on, where we merge from humans and technology. And I really just, I think that we can start to live in harmony then, because at the moment we can't. And you've got religious wars for thousands of years, and I can't see how that's going to how carrying on in that same sort of line is going to benefit the human race. We're going to kill each other, and we won't be here for at all.
But then, like, even that, you're making an assumption that somehow what's going on is wrong. Why is it wrong?
yeah.
Like, why is anything that's going on wrong in any way? Like,
You're also asking to swap what you see as a flawed kind of set of rules and controls from a religious point of view, which a lot of them are beautiful, lovely things like, loving thy neighbor and all of those sort of things. They're not completely destructive. You're also asking for those rules to be wiped out in favor of putting a silicon chip or tampering with DNA with Elon Musk or whoever's going to step up to do this project with your new set of rules and doctrines.
It was a proposal just for Henry, because would have thought that, because if we could instill the Ten Commandments into the human, he would be pro, because it would give everybody those sort of values, which are Christian values.
it
But
seems like the most evil thing in the world to me. Like, we're warned in the Bible of the Antichrist. You know, it says about the mark on the hand or whatever, the mark of the beast. Like that's literally the sort of thing I think of when I think of that. I don't know what the Antichrist is, whether it's a person, whether it's a ideology, whether it's a chip. I don't have a clue, but like it could be something like exactly what you're explaining. And like the thing is, to be good, it requires virtue. If you take away the choice, like we like life isn't even life anymore. It's just like you're talking about transhumanism essentially, like evolving the human race. Like I don't believe in that at all. I just think that's like the
what
most evil thing ever.
Well, what about if you just did, rather than the Ten Commandments, if you just changed one and said, "Thou shalt not kill," and you
But
did
why? Why should we not kill each other? Like it.
it?
You're. I understand you're used in the Ten Commandments, and you're saying, "Oh, let's make people perfect." But like, I think we are perfect. You know, like,
Oh, do you?
yeah, I do.
Yes, I agree with that as well. I think we're perfectly imperfect. We may have been, I think Henry says, we're born from original sin or something of those lines, and there is light and dark within us, and we need to be able to find light within and collectively, so individually do that, and also talk about that, discuss that, help each other do that, and that will shape morality on planet Earth going forwards.
No, we're not perfect. I don't think. I think we're far from perfect, and I think that you know we're inherently we're going to break the rules all the time. Whether you're in a religious group, you're always going to have the uh, a person that's not going to is going to run renegade. Um,
So what is perfect then? Because you've got this idea of what perfect is.
well,
And I think of God as the highest good, right? And this is why I believe morality comes from God, right? Because it you're saying that, oh well, eh, rules are going to get broken. This like it's we're not perfect. What is perfection? Like
I,
this.
the thing, the issue that I have really, Henry, is that as a species, we look to make improvements all the time. Everything that we do. We've even from fire, we used we got fire by two stones. Now we've got propulsions that are going to take us to Mars. We're making improvements all the time. But what we don't do is we don't make any improvements to the humans as a species. We improve plants, we improve animals, we improve the air we breathe, we make improvements all around the world. But what we don't do is we don't improve our own species. We let the terrible aspects to fester and grow and like a cancer. Yeah, I just don't see that. We're far from perfect, and I
What grows like a cancer?
some of the terrible, yeah, I mean, some of the terrible things that some humans do, I really do. I think that we have, if we, for our species and for the success of the human race, we need to start making improvements with the humans because we are far from perfect. We,
What is success of the human race?
well, to be able to, well, first off, a first would be to live in harmony.
Mm.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, fair enough.
agreed.
Yeah, yeah.
I think if we could all agree in the world to say, okay, let's put AI and all our money and everything into the improvement of living in harmony for the human race. I don't think that'll be a penny wasted. I think that'll be a great achievement. And if we implement it as well, I think we're on a road to success. But while we're not doing that, and we're only serving ourselves, we're letting the cancers grow in our species, and it's awful. Really don't see that. That's go on into.
That's the key thing you said there. We're only serving ourselves and we're not serving the collective if we're not moving towards something like that. Personally, I have hope that we are doing that. We do that. We have been doing that for
You do.
hundreds of years, thousands of years. I think this comes from within. This morality, which is a set of ideas and values and principles that people use to judge what is right and wrong, good or bad, comes from within us and how we ought to treat one another. So if we're nurturing that, we don't have to tinker with brains and biology. We don't have to change what is already perfectly well balanced in an amazing planet spinning around in the solar system that works absolutely perfectly fine before we got here and will continue to do so when we've gone. We don't need to tinker with that. We need to tinker with what comes from within us, which is the thoughts, feelings, behaviors, actions of us individually and collectively. That's what we need to look at, and that's what we need to discover for one another.
But it doesn't work, does it? It doesn't work. We've looked at other species, we've looked at plants, and just by going along and stroking them and saying, no, no, you don't do that, you do this, it doesn't work.
No, I'm not saying that. And I don't know what you're saying about it doesn't work because it does work. Sets of values and principles collectively do work. Otherwise, we would have had more destruction on planet Earth and more wars and more, much more than we've had already because we have had periods of peace. We do live in harmony sometimes with each other. It's just that what comes up within us is destructive forces that we need to kind of understand and acknowledge so that we can actually deal with them.
There's no, I've not seen any empirical evidence to support that view. I've looked at where we have looked to change the biology of a plant or an animal. It's worked out quite well, but we've refused to look at the humans because it's playing God, and I think that's terrible. I mean, you've got people that are born with really bad diseases, you know. I mean, but we're looking at treating that before they're actually born. We're treating some humans, with vaccines so that they don't get killed or um, their body is affected in a terrible way. I mean, if you take what leprosy, we've as humans we've looked to eradicate it because it's a terrible thing and it's contagious, and the AIDS as well. They're looking at an HPV, the viruses. We've got DNA changes now that they can put into humans that will eradicate that, and why we're starting small. And I think it's great what they're doing. We're making ourselves immune from these terrible things that we're surrounded by into a more um, uh, if you going back to like animals, more productive and a more productive crop. Yeah, we're going to be a more productive species. But what I think that we should be looking at other aspects other than disease. But the disease isn't just like a war that you get on your finger. You get it in the brain as well. If someone's got a propensity for murder or paedophilia, if you can deal with that with an injection so that they don't have those feelings. Isn't that a good thing? I think it is.
I'm not going to get into that argument because I think you've taken us down a different road, actually. If
Oh,
I want to get back to morality. I know it's linked to morality. You would argue that
because
it's
at the
linked
end
to
of the day,
morality.
what you can have then is a human that is robust morally. We've all agreed, if we can all agree on a set of morals, and we can live in harmony. I think that's got to be the way forward. The fact that we
Okay.
leave it
So
up.
let's get back to that. Sorry to cut over you, John, but I think you're taking us in quite a lot of different directions. We're coming to the end of our discussion, so what we need to focus on is morality. Where does it come from? And you're suggesting that perhaps there's some biological work to evolve human morality.
No,
But
all I'm saying is we've discussed where it's come from. I'm suggesting where it should go to, rather.
Okay, well, that's not what we were discussing. I'm not sure we've agreed on where it comes from because for me, it comes from within us. There's an innate morality that we're born with, and it's also created around us and through our experiences and through our families, schooling, religions, etc. So that's where I think morality comes from. I don't think it can be improved experimentally other than looking at that within us and how it gets expressed through our bodily kind of experiences and how it turns into actions. I think that's the where we can make improvements and what we should be looking at.
Well, yeah, I'd agree. I disagree with you. I don't think we've tried it for thousands of years. It's just getting worse. What about you, Henry? Wait,
He's he's dropped off. He's dropped off the podcast. I'm sure he'll come back in. Maybe he was so incensed with where the discussion was going.
I don't.
Maybe it was an act of God. I'll readmit him now, and then we can finish off our discussion. Sorry, Henry, we missed you there. Something wrong with the internet connection, I reckon. We need to wrap this up anyway, guys. I mean, have we decided where morality comes from?
No, I don't think so. I think, like I said, from the world's point of view, it seems like a set of preferences. Um, for me, there's like I'll be honest, I haven't come to a conclusion, but when we agree upon the fact, okay, it's all cultural, it's taught, it's preferences, then that begs the question for me, if that is the case, then how do we say this is wrong, that is wrong? Like this is why I've kept asking this throughout the debate, right? Like saying, well, why if we want to do this or if we want to do like why? And there's no real answer, right? And that for me is a slippery slope because then it's like I said, I made the point earlier, if I wake up and I want to kill someone, how can anyone tell me that that is wrong? Like at some point someone had the revolutionary idea. I think it's pretty fucked up to, be horrible to gay people and spit on them and kick them and beat them and all this. And they would have said, well, fuck you, no. Like, you know what I mean? And I just think when it's preferences, it's a slippery slope because like I said, you've got nothing to stand on and you actually can't justify anything. And that was my opening statement. And I think we proved that the whole way through. We haven't been able to pinpoint something and say, well, this is why it's wrong. Like,
So that,
so
so what's your takeaway then? That we've not been able to, um, we don't know where it's come from.
well, yeah, I believe morality comes from God, and I think God is the highest good. Sin is missing the target, and I think the target is to meet God's word. And uh, yeah, I think that's the best I can come to be honest.
For me, I'm mostly aligned to what you're saying, Henry, because for me, morality is a spiritual thing in that it comes through us as spirit. So whether that's coming from God or whether that is the fact that we are, the creating God behind the force of everything. I don't know, but it certainly comes through us. And I see the need for us to look at that collectively and individually together for the good of the collective, which is all of mankind and all the other creatures that we share the earth with. So that's why having good morals and morality and agreeing on that is so important to me. You can't, otherwise, we've just got chaos.
Well, I think that morals, whether they come from, are a set of principles that are passed down generation to generation from our culture, um, and they've changed over time. And they've been, in my opinion, they've been quite destructive as well, because if you don't follow there's a certain set of morals, then you become an enemy. And I don't really see that. I think morals it's a bit of an oxy is a terrible word, really. It's a set of principles, really. That's what it is. Whether they're moral or not, that's debatable, but it's a set of principles we all have, and we can agree to disagree on whether your principles are right or wrong. But whether they're moral, I just don't think that's probably, I think that's subjective, really. I don't.
So you're almost saying that there is no such thing as morality, John, because if you're saying that
Yeah,
it's all just decided upon, then it doesn't exist, does it? It's just an idea
yeah.
at this
So
point.
it's a set of ideas that you've that a community,
So,
a set of community, a community is agreed upon, and some
but
people.
do you actually believe that though? Because if I if I killed Tim, would you have a problem with that? Like,
I think I'd have a problem with that.
Yeah, I don't think murder. Personally, as a principle, I don't think you have the right to take somebody's life. You know,
but do you think it's wrong? Do you think it's morally wrong?
like I say, it's a set of principles. I think morality is a set of principles, and I'm quite a principled person, and I think that, and unless, all right, if Tim was going to kill a load of people, then I don't. I think in principle you would be right to take him down.
Right. Sure. Okay. Like the reason I keep asking this is because for me, I recognize in the world that it's all preferences, but there's something inside of me that says hard and fast, no, like this is not right. If I kill Tim, that is just wrong. And there's something that exists outside of just like this set of ideas that some people have. I don't doubt there's someone out there that could kill someone and feel absolutely nothing. I'm sure that's the case. But I think 99% of people, if they did something immoral, they would feel it and it would burden them and they would have sleepless nights and they would feel guilt and they would feel this pressure from within. And I think there is such thing as morality deeper than just these preferences because it wouldn't burden us like that otherwise and we wouldn't feel it so intensely and so deeply. So this is sort of what I've been trying to get to, that I think there is something outside of us that there is actually such thing as right and wrong. And some people think there's no such thing, that it is just preferences. But I just don't believe that because I don't think that we would be so deeply burdened by these wrongdoings if that was the case, you know?
But isn't yeah, if Tim was driving a train and you knew he was going to go and he wasn't going to stop and it was going to everyone on the train was going to die, and but you had the choice of pressing a button and taking him out, would you do that?
He's got to sit with his own morals and ask himself that question. I think,
Would I kill Tim to stop Kim killing loads of other people? Is that what you're saying?
yes.
Um, I wouldn't kill him personally, but I
You
would try
wouldn't
and
press the
I
button.
would try and
So
well
not pressing that button, you're inadvertently killing hundreds of people.
well no I'm not. I'm not
Yeah, you
killing
are.
anyone.
You could stop it.
I'm not killing anyone.
Well, you could stop
I'm
it.
killing someone if I click the button to kill Tim.
Yeah, but you could stop the hundreds dying by killing one.
It's not. It's a trick question because
Oh, it's interesting. The thing is that we're confronted by that all the time.
Let the boy answer, John, because like he's pausing to think, like we all should. Where do our morals come from? What do I stand for? What values and beliefs do I have? Where did they come from? And what does that mean for me directing my life? And I don't believe that Henry would actually push that button, I'm afraid.
no, I wouldn't because me killing someone, again, it's preferences. Would I rather lots of people die or just one person die? It's like I don't know which one's right, but again, it just comes down to preferences and like yeah. Sorry to change it a little bit. Can we go back to the biology thing? Because I completely just have not got any of the points made about that. And there's something inside of me just saying that's completely wrong. So I just want to touch on that if you don't mind.
How long have we got? How long have we been going, my
We've got
friends?
plenty of time, Tim. It's you that wants to stop, and it was your subject, the biology. So, you know,
Okay, yeah, I'm quite happy to go there. Can somebody give me a time check? Because I've no idea when we started.
no, I haven't got a time check. But anyway,
Okay, Henry?
yeah,
It's half one.
Yeah, when did we start?
no,
Um, about
half an hour ago.
No, that's not right.
It's got to be 2 hours now, surely.
I was thinking it's quite long. Yeah,
We
that's
didn't
why.
start until 12:30, I don't think.
All right, let's go for an extended version on.
Anyway, answer the question.
There was no question. Henry just wanted to go back to the biology. So over to me, you, my friend, and I can quite
Sure. So,
do our
like,
best.
none of the points you made about the biology really made sense to me. I don't understand why they're moral topics in any sense. Like that, yeah,
Yeah,
okay. It's like our biology. You could say, like, just to agree upon biology, it's like our physical makeup, right? That like our body, our physical makeup essentially. Like, okay, yeah, we get instinctual things like we get hunger, we get the drive to procreate, etc. But like, why does
Okay.
biology in any sense,
Yeah.
why is that linked to morality? Because I
I,
like,
I've got
yeah, go
it.
on.
I've got it. Let me try and lay out some of it for you so that it might make sense for you or others. But and this is just the way I see it. I may not be right, and I don't share John's view of like it being faulty and that we need to change it in any way. I just think biology is what is natural. Biology is how we are made and how we are wired. And the way I see it is that we're human beings are social animals and we're wired for survival. And that gives us traits like empathy, fairness, reciprocity, and the ability to care for our offspring and to help us collectively survive. So therefore, it gives us a morality of cooperation and increased survival, caring for others, reduced conflict, actually, because as social creatures, we try to reduce that conflict. Otherwise, that may be different, dangerous. And also biologically, inside of us, when we have thoughts, we create feelings. And when we have feelings, it creates thoughts, which creates behavior. It's kind of a loop for us. So biologically, we have, like you say, guilt, shame, compassion. Those are compassions and hope and things like that are innate biologically uh, within us, and it's part of who we are. And it's not just restricted to us as humans, actually. Even trees have the ability to cooperate with each other biologically for their survival. So trees will move to allow light in for saplings and smaller trees. They will divert water to one another through their network of being collectively connected. So for me, biologically, we are collectively connected because, and when I look at it spiritually, we are the same source of all energy across the universe, and we are connected to that spiritual grid. And you might see it as God, but I see it as like a spirit of all things. And so, therefore, it is a biological, moral, biological morality that is built into us and that we are part of, and it just is us.
Okay. I'm still not. I'll be honest. I'm still not sure why that links to morality. And like, I understand how there's a connection there in the sense, like, survival and rubbling along, things like that. The way that we're interconnected. I get how there might be a connection, but connection doesn't mean causality, right? It's like our our instincts. They might help us to survive and things, but again, why is that moral? Like, I really don't see the connection, and I'm not sure there is one. And like a lot of our biology, our instincts, they're there for survival. That doesn't mean it's got anything to do with morality in any way for me. Like, the desire to eat, the desire to like none of it's moral. It just is what it is to be. You know, yeah,
So, one question: If
yeah.
can we all agree that morality is a set of principles?
That is one part of what morality is for me.
Okay.
That's that cultural principles.
What biological principle is developed rather than, let's say, a moral? Let's forget the word moral. Give me a principle in which we, as a species, develop
Um, One example would be compassion.
but we don't all share compassion.
I believe we do. I believe that compassion is within, unless they're completely evil, even the most evil amongst us, I'm sure, will have some compassion within them somewhere. It is an innate in us.
Really? So you'd say, what happened to all the Nazis then when they were gassing the Jews? Where was their compassion there?
Mate, I knew we would be going down this road with this argument because it's a moral argument, right? But
Simple.
I can't talk about that, but I can talk about the fact that in my experience, I have never met anybody that is completely devoid, apart from a couple of psychopaths and a social kind of like personality disordered sort of individuals who are completely selfish. I've never met anybody without any compassion.
Are you saying that's biological though?
Yes, I am. I am.
Okay, because like for me, the biology sense like almost goes against it because it's like my biology is like quite selfish. Like it cares about itself, and it's
Mm,
something higher than that inside of me that wants better for others. Like that's what compassion is, right? It's more about others. Like
yeah.
my biology is all about me. Like I want to fucking bust a nut and eat a burger. Like, do you know what I mean? Like there is something bigger than that that wants to help Tim, and it's not my biology. I don't think. Like,
Okay, so I think inherently we're quite a selfish gene. Yes, we're wired for survival. That's the biology. We're wired for survival. But in that, we exercise either destruction or compassion. So it's a kind of like a dual nature of being human. But definitely through compassion, we learn to cooperate. And that's what I'm saying is probably lacking in our collective culture and that we should strive to be better at. But it is wired in us. Kids are either really lovely and they will give their toys to other to other kids to play with, or they'll take those toys and whack the other kids around the head. You
again,
can
like
be
we're
both
using
things.
examples. Sorry, Tim. Sorry, I just cut you off. Apologies. Like we're using examples of things that we use, like that we deem to be either like nice or not nice, to like justify morality. Again, it's just like, what? Like, why is that moral? Do you not like? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a big loop. It's like we always use the things that we think are like either good or not, and it's like that's not what it is. Like it's just. Again, it's just preferences. Like I feel like I'm repeating myself so much, but it's
I don't think that we're born with a set of principles. Well, I think we're taught those. I don't think there's anything that we're born with. Uh, so
Okay, so
it's very
I'm with you because most things are shaped through logic and principles as we learn them, as we grow up. But we're definitely born with love, compassion.
but love's not a principle.
Well, there you go. Then it's wired within. It's biological.
It's not. It's not a principle. It's not a moral. It's an
Mm,
emotion. It's a,
uh,
if we can agree that morals are a set of principles, love is not a moral. It is not a principle. It's an emotion.
yes, and therefore it is biological. There is some overlap because we can say, well, you should love thy neighbor, and in which case it becomes moral.
I don't think so. No, I don't think that we're born with any principles at all. I think they're taught to us, and so we can change if we change the word back to morals. I think that all morals are taught to us. They're not born. We're not born with them. So I I'd have to disagree on one. I don't think we're born with any morals.
There are principles that we're born with. We're born as the principle of consciousness. We're born of the principle of thought,
But
and
that's
we are born with the principle of mind. And so, therefore, those three principles govern everything that we do, say, and think and behave as humans.
yeah. But you have to by those in of themselves are not principles.
They're a principle just like gravity. They exist as soon as we exist in this reality, whatever that is.
In of themselves, they're not principles. Just saying, what were the things? What are the principles we're born with?
I think you're confusing principles with values and beliefs. I mean that
Well, we under the principles. Well, we've agreed that morality is there are a set of principles, aren't they?
yeah, I think we're mostly aligned to the fact that as we grow up, we learn morality through a set of agreed principles that are given to us from what happens around us.
Aside of principles, then what else is morality if they're not a set of principles only?
Morality is what's right and wrong, I guess.
That's,
That's how I would put it.
but that's a principle, isn't it?
It's a set of ideas and values and principles that people use to judge.
Well, I don't want to box myself in by saying that, and I'm just being transparent and honest when I say that. And the reason being is because, like I said, my issue with the whole set of ideas thing is it's ever changing. There's something inside of me that says if I kill Tim, that is totally wrong. Forget ideas, principles, whatever. So I believe that morality is something that is actually set in stone, is actually right or wrong. So I'm not like you could say that is a set of principles, yes, but like I'm just exploring the idea. To be honest, I don't have the answer. I'm just being
Yeah.
honest. Yeah.
To be honest, Henry, I don't think any one of us has the faintest clue. But it's a great exploration and discussion and thought-provoking. To me, I think we've got a moral obligation to one another collectively for the present and the future, whatever that may be, to kind of get it right a little bit. And it comes from somewhere. This morality that we're talking about comes from somewhere. I don't know whether it comes through us, is us, or,
Was
it's learned. I don't know.
well,
Can I ask you, John? Do you feel like you have a guiding light, something that helps you make these decisions, or do you like? Is John like Is it? Is John like in your brain? Is like how do you? I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say. Do you have a guiding light? I'll start
a guy.
there. Yeah, like is there something that you're led by, aspiring towards? Like what? How do you come to any conclusion about stuff? Is it? Do you think it all just happens in your brain?
Well, that's um, but knowledge really. If I'm not sure about anything, I will learn as much as I can from. And I don't. I'm always open to change,
Mm.
uh, but I will take my knowledge from as varied sources as possible. I won't take it from one. I listen to when it comes to a virtuous life, I will take that from the Buddhist and the Hindi, the Christian, the Muslim. I take them from all and make my own decisions and make my own and my way forward and my principles in life are based upon that alone. I'm the decider, effectively. Um, so good or bad or whatever my decisions are. I'm the only person that I can blame for that. I can't say that I was just following orders or it was my religion. No, I don't hide behind things like that. It's my decision. It's my decision. And I've made that. I've made that decision, um, an informed decision.
Do you think that's what everyone should do?
I don't no, because
No. Okay.
I think that some people rely on other people to do that, to do those thought experiments and to pass their knowledge down. And that's then they become sort of the leaders, if you like, the leaders of the pack or the head of the church or the prime minister of the country. Um, but I don't think there's any one solution to it. I think there's always a compromise. And I think the skill is to be able to sort of weigh up the pros and cons and make the decision based uh, on what you have to compromise with. Um, and I don't think there's any right way. But I think there's some avenues you take in life, you mitigate the pros and the cons, right, and go and just, well, you weigh it up. You know, you've got more pros rather than cons, and I think that some people just haven't got the thought, the depth of thought to do that, and they rely on other people to do it. They don't question it. They're quite happily just sit there and go, okay, that's because it's taught to me. They're the teacher, so I'll live with that. And it's invariably it's we are a species of sheep, and there's not many people that step out and think differently. I think I'm
Well,
one of those people that think a little bit differently, much to my own. I get a lot of problems with it, but it is what it is, you know. I don't accept it just because, um, they're in a high position. I respect their position and I'll listen to it, but my judgment will be mine, not theirs.
sure.
I'll live by that and die by that.
It
Yeah.
sounds like that you're saying that it does happen in your mind and it's not guided by anything else. But you want to say something else about that, don't you, Henry?
Yeah. Um, yeah. I don't know. I've lost it a bit.
Yeah, I
Um,
think you asked the question, have you got a guiding light, John? And is it happening in your mind? Is it just happening in your brain? And I think your long dialogue suggested that you think it's just happening in your brain.
No, it's an informed decision. It's not. I take my information from different sources, so it's not. I don't. I'm not belligerent in just the thinking this is the way it is, and I'm not changing my thoughts. And I will listen to other people, and I will change and develop. I mean,
No,
I
I'm sorry to cut in because we don't want to go down a big long dialogue of that again, I don't
but
think.
no, to
Because you're,
answer the question, the question, what I mean, the thing is, if you look at if when I was 12, 11 or 12, I didn't believe in Jesus Christ. And then I became a spiritualist. And I lived in, and then, I played with Christianity. And then I became agnostic. I mean, you evolve as a person because of the information that, well, I evolved as a person by the information that I was subjected to. So,
yes, I hear you. You're saying you take information in, you look for knowledge from other people's opinions, books, videos, experience, etc. But it's still all just happening in your brain for you, yes?
what do you mean? It's happening in my brain?
It's a simple question. Is it just happening in your brain, or is it
Where else?
something else? Yeah. Okay, so I think you're answering the question.
Where else would it be if it's not happening in my brain?
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. You've answered it for me. You
No,
think,
I'm asking a question. If you're asking, is it happening in my brain? And I'm saying, well, where else would it be?
yes, I'll get to your question in a minute. I hear your question, but you're answering the question of is it just happening in your brain by an
Well, I don't know
affirmative
because
yes.
I can't think of any. I can't think of an alternative. But I'm open to having an alternative. But I can't think where the alternative might come from. It could be that it is somewhere else, but it could be transcendental. It could be we might be living in, you know, parallel universes, and it could come from that. Oh, yeah, it could be. I don't know,
do
but
you do you believe in the idea of a gut feeling?
instinct. You mean? Is that what you mean? Gut instinct?
Mhm. Not quite, because I would see instincts as
What's the difference between gut?
like biological instincts and a gut feeling. I don't see that as the same thing.
So we've got what are those? Fear, fight, and there's another one I can't think. They're all sort of
It's,
biological responses, aren't they?
yeah, yeah, for
Fear,
sure.
fear, fight, flight, or freeze.
Have
Yeah.
you ever been in a situation, John, where there's no rational explanation for why you feel this way? There's just, you got this gut feeling. Either don't go into that room, get out of this place, you have to do this. Like,
Hmm.
I don't want to speak for you, Tim. I remember the story you said about when you met Tiff, and you don't know why. You just knew you had to go down to that corner of the field or wherever it was. Sorry, I don't want to put words in your mouth at all and miss say the story because it's a special story as well. But like, I remember you telling me, and it was like there was an unexplainable urge. Like, have you ever felt something like that, John?
An unexplainable urge. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, what do you think that is?
An unexplained. Well, um, perhaps it's a sense, a sixth sense that we're not able to sort of tap into anymore.
Okay.
Something like
Any
that.
more?
Pardon?
Any more?
No, like birds can fly north and south, they can navigate with that sort of that sense. I think that our brain is capable of much more than it does. And I think that sometimes when we're put in a situation, the chemicals, we have this chemical reaction in our brain and it taps into things that we either fight, fly, or you need to get out of there because there's something not quite happening. I imagine, that it happens quite a lot with humans is that, you go somewhere, you'll do something or you're with somebody and it doesn't feel quite right with that person. You think there's something quite, and I think that, it's a sense, perhaps a sixth or a seventh sense that we're not able to tap into and use universally throughout our species. I think it's a forgotten thing. I think that we were able to do that previously, or we've got the capability to do it, but yeah, I would agree. There are unexplainable feelings as well, most definitely. Where it comes from, I don't know. I don't think it comes from a god. I just think it comes from um, it's a biological thing.
Right, okay. So you think it's purely biology, it doesn't like raise any. Okay, fair enough. Um, you said about like the forgotten knowledge almost like, we have more power in our brain. Don't you think this kind of thing is lost in the West massively? Like in the East, they seem much more spiritual. They sort of, they have these practices that, you know, in these Eastern countries would feel much more natural and common knowledge, whether it's natural remedies or spiritual, I don't know, practices of some sort. Like,
What's really interesting, Henry, is that you find people with a neurodiverse people that they swim with dolphins or they mix with horses and things like that. And it's animals. So, you might some children they've not spoken a word in their life, and they'll meet a dog, and all of a sudden they'll gel really with it, and it's incredible. And I don't know where it comes from, what you can call it. I just think it's another sense that we're not aware of fully. And I think that, put in different scenarios, people react in a different way. Some people stand on the edge of a mountain and don't get vertigo. Other people, they're convulsing. Um, it's a chemical thing, I think. And yeah, so
okay. So when you say it's a chemical thing, is that you rejecting like a spiritual nature to us, or you just
uh, yeah, I don't think it comes. I think we've got the capability to do it with each other or with other animals. I don't think it comes from a, uh, a a man in the sky or a god or of sorts. I don't think there's such a thing as a god, really. I think there's enlightened people that have been able to sort of you know attune their body to working with animals or whatever it is. Um, some people believe they've got extrasensory perception and things, and I think we've got a bit. I think that we might have an ability for it, but I think at this stage we've only got five senses, but and I don't think that any unusual scenarios are divine.
So only the five senses plus the sixth one you mentioned.
But yeah, possibly. Yeah, I don't know how many six. We might have 12, 15, 20. But well, I think that we're only attuned to five. I think some people may have a propensity to have a sixth sense. Some people might have a seventh sense. I don't know. I think that's interesting. I'd like to learn from them. I'd like to listen to them. But
This idea of the sixth sense, for me, like our senses are our way of interacting with the real world. That's the way I see it, anyway. We're spiritual beings. Our senses are what give us the physical experience. We're able to see things. We're able to taste things. We're able to smell things. We're able to hear things. That is our portal into experiencing with our physical body, right? And that's that sixth sense. It's not a sixth sense. It's our true nature. It's what we actually are. And like this meat suit, as me and Tim like to call it, is the restriction almost. So I wouldn't say that it's even a sixth sense because that to me would imply, like I said, interacting with the real world, and I think it's about the spiritual world at home.
so we've got a sixth sense, and it's a spiritual one. Is that right?
Well, no, I wouldn't call it our sixth sense because, like I said, I think senses are to interact with the physical world. I don't think it's about the physical world at all.
Yeah, but God is not is not physical, is it? But having that ability to relate to a God, isn't that a sense?
I
I wouldn't call it a sense, to be honest, personally.
yeah.
Personally.
I mean, it may be that we've got six, seven, eight, nine, 10, 12, whatever senses. There's much more. There's something that is not just five about us, isn't there? And where that comes from, I don't know. It doesn't appear to me as being just restricted to my brain. I think there's something spiritual that happens. We're operating in a very small part of the spectrum of what is out there because we know that scientifically. We uh, operate within small parameters of the light spectrum and sound spectrums and I would take issue when you say God is not physical, because I don't know. I used to think that I didn't believe in God, but I'm coming around to the idea that I do, and that there is something higher and bigger and better than, maybe not better, bigger, higher than us. So, and we are it. So therefore, God might be physical, actually. Um,
It might be. You don't know.
I have no idea. No, I know that I've got my mind, but I know there's a bigger collective mind that I tap into as well. And whether that's God, I don't know. But that's the thing that gives me instincts and gut feelings, like when I met my wife and I knew that she was the one for me. And I'll tell you that story another time when I'm really not dying for a pee. Um, and
Go
or
for it.
or instances when I was down the London tube station and I had an instinct that something terrible was going to happen, and I managed to get out before I was mugged by four muggers down the tube station. There's stuff that I and everybody can tap into that is not just within our mind, as far as I can tell.
Sure. And I do want to link this all back to morality. And the reason that I got into the spiritual side of it, because I believe that's what gives us value. And if we just die and that's the end, and this is just an experience, then I don't see why anything matters at all. Like why there's like what like that would if that was the case, if there's no God and we just die and that's the end, we rot on the ground and we're gone forever, then what like no wonder we all kill each other. No wonder we all just think everything's preferences. Like no wonder this is the case. Like it makes sense to me in that sense because it's like what like why would morality need to be a thing? Nothing matters anyway.
Doesn't.
Yeah, I get on board with that. And adding to that, I get why people would die for what they think is right, like having the higher morality, because they
100%.
know that if that death is, they know that death is not the end, and that there's
Yeah,
a bigger game going on, and that
100%.
mm,
Mm. I think
Yeah.
that's a comfort blanket personally, but anyway.
But
what
I'll tell you why it's not, John, right? Because I never had the desire for that. Like, I was, as a 15-year-old, I was very much, yeah, live and let live, I'm gonna die, let's just have some fucking fun and like nothing matters anyway, that was very much my mindset. And I like dying didn't really bother me. I was like, well, I've experienced nothing before I was here. I'm sure it's just like that. I won't give a shit, you
Yeah.
know? The thought of actually like the process of dying, like I hope it's not painful, I hope it's not long and slow. Like, yeah, okay. But the need for like an afterlife, like I just didn't have that. So like me saying all this now, like I always say, me coming to God, it wasn't something I did, it was something that happened to me. And I genuinely mean that because I really had no desire. Like I didn't care. I used to say things like what you just said, like, oh, man in the clouds, like grow up. That's like stupid. It doesn't make sense. But this is the sort of ideas that are put onto us to make it seem silly. Like it does seem silly, a little guy with horns and like a little guy, like a man in the cloud with a big beard, like a big white guy. Like that's not, it's like that's obviously just silly, right? And I think that's the whole idea. And yeah, sorry, I feel like I'm waffling, but
no, no, that's cool. Could what it says to me is like, could both be true? Could it be that we're only here to enjoy this life, this conscious life that we've been given, and that it doesn't make all matter too much? Could both be true from
no,
your
so I think it
perspective?
does matter. I think it does matter. I think if you kill someone, that is wrong. It's not just preferences. If I wake up and I decide that I want to start harming people, I do think that is wrong. I think it does matter, and
But
yeah, I don't think it's
kill
both
a
at
human
all.
matters, but to kill an animal doesn't.
No,
So
no, they,
you're careful not to walk on ants when you go down the street.
no, I don't believe in that. I'll happily eat meat. They're
Well,
serving me. There's a purpose.
why
I
is
wouldn't.
why is you put an intrinsic value on a human, but you won't put it on any other animal?
I don't think they're not valuable, but I value a human much higher than any animal.
Really?
Much higher. 100%. Yeah,
This is I know this is linked to morality, but this is a whole different topic, fellas. I believe. I
sure.
think
No,
Yeah.
it's I don't know. I personally I find that a little bit hard. That's a big pill to swallow to put an intrinsic value on one species and not another. It's like you go out and eat a chicken, but you get annoyed because they're killing whales, and you're like, "Pff," I
That
mean,
doesn't annoy me though. Like, is it immoral for a lion to kill a deer? Like, absolutely not. It's a circle of life. Meat is there for us to eat. It's the circle of life. I don't think it's immoral. I think if I were to go into a field and slaughter a lamb and like laugh at it, that's like it's it's horrible. It's like, but to eat a nice dinner, like I no, I think they're there to serve us to some degree, right? And I don't think God would create them with the same consciousness as us, like you know, like in like worrying about their own doom because the humans are going to eat and kill them. I don't think they suffer like that. I think we should kill them in the most humane way possible, but I don't think that they suffer in the way that we would through their level of consciousness. I guess that's the best way I can put it. Yeah, I don't see it as immoral at all. It's the circle of life.
well, perhaps we'll talk about the circle of life and where morals fit in next time. But yeah, it's
Sure.
a long one today, most definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the deepest questions we've had so far. I think
Think it goes into so many different subjects,
Mm.
and it triggers a lot of it. It triggers the three of us, and as much as like I can't really see a difference between the death of anything is justified. I don't think humans are any better than any other species, personally.
But like a life of roaming around a field, eating and shitting, and then like you having a family and working and building towards something like you've got so much more going on. And I'm not saying like what you've got going on defines your value, but we're just there's a clear difference in every other species in humans, like a clear difference. Like we've got an imagination, we're going somewhere, we're doing something. We're not just loitering around like eating grass and shitting. Like
Well,
so,
other animals do that, don't they? They
do
migrate,
what?
procreate, and they live in
Yeah,
community.
they can live fruitful animal lives, but that's it. Like they're just there to exist. They haven't got a purpose. They're there to be on my plate, mate. That's it. Like,
But you don't know that because you don't know what's beyond, you know? If you
well, we don't.
if
Sorry.
you were to take, if you take the Buddhist, I mean, yeah, or the Hindu, is if you're bad on planet Earth, you reincarnated into a dog in India, you know? So it sets a principle for the people to live by. So you be good, otherwise you'll come back as a dog in the gutter. That's what happens, you know?
Wait, is this the nihilist saying there might be something beyond this life and existence right now?
Yeah, and do you know what? Sorry, John. I'm not shitting on you when I say this, by the way, but I don't like that because it's like you're using an argument you don't believe to try and prove me wrong, and it's like you don't even believe that. I don't believe that. You don't believe that. So like,
But
what's
there
the
are
bit?
some people that do believe that, don't they? And I think, what's to say, is that right or is that wrong? I think in principle, from a principle point of view, I think it's a good principle to have. Whether it's
Don't agree.
realistic, whether you actually are reincarnated, that's another story. But to live by those principles, I think is a good thing.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that's their principles based on their beliefs. I don't believe that. You don't believe that. It's like,
But the principle is good, though, isn't it?
well,
I
I wouldn't mind coming back as a dog. They live
No,
pretty
no.
sweet.
But by treating other, if by treating people fairly and not abusing them, then you live a virtuous life. And so that principle in of itself stands by itself, doesn't it? Whether you believe in
Sure,
reincarnation or not.
sure. Yeah, well, yeah, of course. Yeah,
I think it's
this,
fine, isn't it? So, I mean, some of the Buddhist principles are great. I think, whether I don't believe that we come back. Um, uh, I don't believe in reincarnation, but as a principle, I think it's a good thing. You know,
I
this,
think the next topic needs to be are we purely physical beings? Are we spirit? Because I think that's like a huge pivotal point on everything we're talking about.
Yeah, let's go for that one in a future podcast because what we're touching upon right now is, is something fair? Is it harmful, helpful? All philosophers have tried to ground morality in logic and principles independent of religion for a long time, Aristotle and Kant and Nietzsche and all the rest of them. So I don't think we're gonna get to the bottom of it between the three of us with what we know. But it's been such a rich and great exploration. Personally, I've been enriched and shifted in some way.
have you?
Um, yeah, I do. I
What
think
way
it.
have you shifted?
I think it's grounded me in the fact that obviously this is one of the deepest questions you can ask, um, and and I think that it's shown me that it. I think despite you guys saying it's not biological, I think it has shown me that it is a part biology. I think it is part logic and principles that we've inherited and been taught cultural, but also I think I'm leaning towards the place where these things come from somewhere else through us, as us, and I'm interested in that being like
My
an
question was,
important.
where have you shifted? Have you? I mean, it's entrenched you in your beliefs, but have you shifted any of your beliefs?
Yeah, I was trying to answer that. I was
Oh,
trying to say that it's pointing me more towards how important it is. Morality is important in order for us to kind of like be okay collectively together. Um,
opposed
uh,
to what? What did you think before?
oh, mate.
I'm confused from where you were
Yeah,
to where you stand now. What the shift was from being?
yes. Yes, and I'm trying to tell you, it's
Okay,
I
I think
I was thinking that it was biological, cultural, experiential, and grounded in principles that and logic that we inherit.
right.
But I'm now saying that there is something bigger than that, that is morality, that we are part of, that shapes us collectively, and that's why it's so important to kind of like
There's
get
God
it.
out there shining it down on you, those morals. Uh,
I don't know what you just said either because I was in the middle of my flow. Um,
I've done you've I've understood where where you were previously, but now you believe there's something bigger than that shining down these morals that you hadn't anticipated before. That's
yeah,
my grasp of what you were saying. Is that right?
yes.
Okay.
Well, I don't know what you mean by that, so I couldn't say yes or no, to be honest, because I don't understand you as much
This
as much as you don't understand me. And we can continue talking over each other, or we can have another
I'm
discussion another day.
curious. You're saying that where you've shifted now is a bigger thing. And what's the bigger thing?
Well, it's bigger than our little brain. That's all I'm saying.
I was
Fair
going
enough.
on that from there. Okay. What about you, Henry? Are you still where you were before? Have you shifted from where and to?
No, I don't think I've shifted. I think this was a really hard topic, and um, I've tried to frame like what I've been saying as questions because I certainly don't have the answers. But I still feel there's a difference in the way that the world shows me what morality is, in the sense that, I don't like, as much as you should follow the law and stay out of trouble, like the law, a lot of people would say, well, that's what's right and wrong. It's against the law, that's wrong. Like the law is changeable, it's ever changing, it's decided by people, it's not real, it's made up entirely by human beings, and that cannot be what is right and wrong for me. There's something that exists outside of all that, our ideas, agreed upon principles, that is right and wrong, because there's a reason people have sleepless nights when they do certain things, you know? And I can't pinpoint exactly what that is, but it tells me that there's something deeper going on than, oh, let's just decide that this is wrong for now, and in 50 years we'll change it and then decide this is wrong, and this no, that just doesn't feel right to me. So my closing statement, I would say, it tells us in the Bible to not lean on our own understanding, and I've been thinking about that a lot this call, because your own understanding can leave you astray quite often. Um, Regarding the biology and stuff, I don't think that's what morality is, personally, because inherently I'm quite evil. I'm quite selfish. I'm quite, I want things for myself. I don't, you have to aspire to be a moral person, I think, and naturally we are quite destructive, quite selfish, self-serving, and I think our biology is there for survival, um, not for moral reasons. So yeah, but it's been a great conversation.
Yeah, I don't think it's funny actually. My take on it is that, where does it come from? And it's just, I don't think I've changed there. I just think it's a set of principles that we're governed by, and it's taught to us by our friends and family and our institutions. Um, Whether they're right or wrong, I think um, that's I think some of them are wrong. Um, Um, and is the way to fix it? Yeah, I think there is. None of you two don't agree with that, but that's have I changed any? Has my thoughts changed? I don't believe in we're born with a set of principles. So I don't think biology comes into it. I don't think a sixth sense, whether it be a big light or a greater power, is shining any morals down on me. I think so. I don't think that is there at all. So I don't know. I think I'm pretty much where I was at the start, really. So
Can I ask you a question, John? Do you not think there's a flaw in oh well, let's just like decide as and when what's right and wrong? Do you not think there's like an issue with that?
I, I know. I think every situation demands forethought and context, and you've got to sort of think it through right to the end. I don't think that just because something says it's wrong, you can't shouldn't do it. I think that if Tim was riding on a train and he was going to kill 100 people, I'd straight away kill the button. I'd press kill button, kill him straight out, no problem. Wouldn't think twice about it.
Thanks, brother.
No, and I hear it, and I'm in no position to tell you that that is wrong. I'm really not. But like according to God's law, we shouldn't kill. And
Mm.
like you turned it on me and said, "Well, you're killing all these people." I don't see it like that at all. You
No.
know, you they like until they're dead, they're not dead, and killing someone else
Mm.
is it's not the answer. Like it's two rights don't make a wrong. It's so you know what I mean. Two wrongs don't make right. um,
I hear what you're saying. It's a difficult question,
it
and
is.
that, like I said, I think there is no solution to this. I think it's a compromise. You've got to make it is a compromise that you've got to make in life, and you've got to decide which is the lesser evil. And we do that, you know. Do you drive without a seatbelt on today? Are you going to go over the speed limit? You could have a puncture and kill somebody, but these are we determine we're self-determining animals. We take those choices
Yeah.
and we live by them as well. But I think that yeah, I think we could probably go on, but I'm conscious that this is going to be like into the third hour now, but I don't think we should go there. But interesting, Henry, and I'm sure you and I you probably got another question for me. Well, let's save it for the next one.
Let's save it. Sure, sure.
Yeah, I
Thanks.
think the future questions should be something along the lines of human beings, are we self-determining animals? That would be a rich
Well,
discussion.
are you going to choose that for the next topic, Tim?
Well, I can answer that in 5 seconds. The answer is yes, because we have free will. End the podcast. That's it.
So watch for future discussions. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks, you too. Thanks, everyone. Ta-da.